Broadcasting Network's Facebook page, Grenada Broadcasting Network's YouTube channel, the website gbn.gd, GBN TV channel 7, 11 and 20, and good morning to the listeners of Classic 105.5, 105.9. This morning I have joining me is second officer in charge or inspector, second in charge at Traffic Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force, Inspector Randal Baptiste, and a little later we are expected to be joined by an officer of the CID, Constable Keddy Victor. But in the meantime, we're going to start the conversation with Inspector Baptiste on vehicle theft in Grenada. Good morning, Inspector Baptiste.
Good morning to you, Miss Welsh, and how are you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thankful to be in the land of the living and to get an opportunity once again to educate the public on very much important laws-related matters.
Exactly. Thank you very much for sparing some time. So over the past few, not weeks, but months, I've seen and heard reports of vehicle theft in Grenada, and I don't know if it's because of social media that is becoming more publicly known or if it's an increase in statistics. But from the RGPF's data that you've received so far, is it that there's an increase in vehicle theft in Grenada, or just that we are just becoming aware of how widespread the situation is?
From an RGPF statistics standpoint, it is an increase. We will have about 20 reports being made thus far for the year as it relates to vehicle theft, unlike other years. So definitely we have seen an increase in that regard.
Is there a specific brand or type of vehicle that is being targeted?
Yes, from the statistics, what we have seen, majority of the vehicles that was stolen are the 1998 Suzuki Escudo, and to a lesser extent, some of the Toyota Corollas. Those are the two vehicles that have been targeted based on our stats thus far. And the security features, especially in the Suzuki Escudo, is not that high, so it's more easy for those type of vehicles to be stolen if the right measures are not put in place, which we will get into some later on into the program.
A concern that I've had as well is how is the theft being done? Is it that we've learned to hotwire vehicles or keys being left in ignitions? How are the thieves accessing the vehicles?
Yes. Again, from our stats and the reports that came in from persons that was affected by the vehicles being stolen, we had about 5 out of those vehicles that have been stolen is where drivers or owners would have left their vehicle unattended with the engine running with the key in the vehicle. And that we had 5
Inspector Baptiste? Oh, you seem to have frozen just a little bit. Technology does not cooperate when we want it to. Can you hear me, Inspector Baptiste? I'm hearing you were frozen just a little bit there after you spoke about the vehicles left unattended. Could you just repeat what you said?
You're right. Okay. Yeah. So I was saying the vehicle. We had about 5 reports where persons left their vehicle unattended with the engine running, key in the ignition, all because they feel that where they are going is just about 2 minutes and where they are going is not that far. But at the end of the day, once you're not in a position where you can prevent the person from getting in, it means therefore you must ensure that the vehicle is properly secured. Yeah, so it had to do with a lot of negligence on some of the owners or drivers' part regarding the vehicles that was stolen or been theft.
And what about the others that the keys were not in the ignition? How were the thieves able to access the vehicle?
All right, with some of them, and mainly the Suzuki Escudo, we not seen it. Some of them was with hot wires, and there are some we cannot determine, so we could only assume that some other key was used.
What about the perpetrators of this crime? Is it a group of people that are on a rampage, or it's just that like-minded criminals all over the place?
It could be both, but as I speak, there is no evidence at hand to justify or to make that assumption. Yeah, investigation continues as we speak in relation to those matters, and I can say we have some lead information regarding a particular vehicle that was stolen that I think not to the nearby distant future we will make some inroads in that matter. But back to the question you ask, it will be difficult to say whether or not it's a group of persons or otherwise at the present moment.
The other concern is, why are they stealing the vehicles? I've heard reports that they are stealing it to thief parts. I've heard reports that they are stealing it to commit other crimes. What have your investigations shown so far?
Well, the investigation, what I can say, has definitely did not show it was stolen to get parts, because 90% or more than the vehicles that were reported stolen have since been recovered. And those vehicles, after being recovered, very, very few, if any, had any parts being stolen or being maliciously damaged or anything like that. So I believe that persons take these vehicles for whatever immediate use they want it for, because between 2 to 3 days or sometime a day after the vehicles are recovered. So I guess it's just for the use immediate use they might want to use that vehicle for the moment, for whatever purpose.
And you mentioned 90% so far, about 90% have been recovered. What about the other 10%? And can you tell us maybe how long those that are still missing have been missing for?
We have one particular vehicle that was reported a long time now, and not yet since being recovered. And there are a couple others that would have been about a week ago that was not since been recovered. But those that was pending a while have since been recovered. So as I said, over 90% of them have since been recovered, and they have been recovered in a short space of time, within 1 to 3 days, majority of them.
Let's look at the laws now as it relates to grand theft. What do the laws state about this crime, the charges that can be laid on perpetrators of this crime? What are we looking at when it comes to the laws?
Right. So I will just break it down instead of say vehicle theft. In the law under the Road Traffic Act, we have it as using or taking a vehicle without the consent of its owner. And Section 63, subsection 1 of the Road Traffic Act, Chapter 289A, or Volume 13 of the 2010 Continuous Revised Edition of the Laws of Grenada, is a section of law that covers that particular offense. And it says, a person who uses or takes and drives away, or attempts to use or takes and drives away any motor vehicle without the consent of its owner or other lawful authority, or knowing a motor vehicle to have been so taken, uses it or drives it, or allow himself to be carried in or in it without the consent of its owner or other lawful authority, commits an offense. So let me just break down that in a more simple form here. What the law is saying, if John takes Andy's vehicle without Andy's consent or any lawful authority, John is guilty of the offense. If Jacob have knowledge that John would have taken Jim's vehicle without his consent, and Jacob, used that vehicle, he is also guilty of that offense. If he didn't use the vehicle and he ride with John in that vehicle, he is also guilty of the offense. And if John, who would have taken the vehicle without the consent, didn't drive, but someone else drove him, he is also guilty of the offense. So there's a number of different scenarios that can play out based on the circumstances surrounding the vehicle being taken without the consent of its owner. As it relates to the penalties for such offense, on conviction of indictment, you are the person one found guilty, convicted, you can fine up to $2,500 or to imprisonment to a term of 2 years, are both fine and confined. If you are charged on summary conviction, you can be fined up to $1,000 or 9 months imprisonment, or both fine and confined. So these are the penalties for if someone is found guilty for the offense of taking a motor vehicle without the consent of its owner.
So since 2020 has started, has anyone been charged for the theft of these vehicles, the 20 or so that you've received for the year so far? Any charges been laid in those cases?
No, from my knowledge, there is no charges being laid, but I can get confirmation from my colleague, Constable Victor, when he comes on in that regard.
Which reminds me, I've been trying to add him to the chat, but he seems to be dropping off and returning. So we'll see if we can get him. Constable Victor, are you there? All right, he doesn't seem to be on completely. In relation to preventative measures, as vehicle owners, vehicle drivers, how can we prevent being a victim of vehicle theft?
Right, so I will give some pointers and some recommendations to owners and drivers as to how we can do that. First of all, we have to ensure that we keep our vehicle locked at all times. Once you park your vehicle, ensure that your vehicle locked. Despite where you're going, despite the time span of where you're going, ensure that your vehicle is properly secured and that it is locked. When parked, never leave your keys in the car. So you never leave your keys in your vehicle while it's being parked. Always ensure that your windows and your sunroof, so that's for vehicles that have the sunroof in addition to the windows, ensure all those windows and sunroof are closed right up to the ceiling area. Don't leave no space. As you normally hear somebody say they break the windows to get some air, for some air to go through, but the perpetrators have the different mechanism where once they can get a little space to pick, and they can send down an instrument and pick that lock and get that vehicle open. Yeah, so it is better to ensure that your vehicle windows and sunroof are properly sealed and closed. Avoid leaving valuables in your vehicle that passerby can see. That will give an attract the eyes of criminals. So like things like expensive cell phones, laptops, watch, wallet, cash, those types of items. You don't want to leave them in your vehicle where it can be easily seen. This will attract the criminal mind. So that's one of another preventative measure you will want to adopt to. Also, we have to be mindful that thieves like operating in the dark. So when persons go to different places, and once there is lighted areas, try and park your vehicle in a lighted area. So that in itself will act as a deterrent to any person who have intention of stealing, because they know that once they go and there is light, they will maybe seen by someone. But in the dark, it will encourage them to go ahead and try to steal a vehicle, because they will not be easily seen. So it's important for us to park in lighted areas once there is a lighted area in the place where you decide to park. I spoke earlier about the Suzuki school with the security features not being that high. So with those type of vehicles, I want to recommend that persons, it will have a cost implication to it, but at the end of the day, it will be better spending some money now than to lose an entire vehicle. So I will recommend for those type of vehicles that are not so high in terms of security, that persons buy what you call steering wheel locks. So you can put that device within the steering wheel and lock it. So even though the person get access and they start the vehicle, they will not be able to move. They will not be able to get any steering wheel motion. That's one. Also, I'll advise them to get immobilization devices that they can put in the vehicle. Clamps. You can at least purchase one clamp, because you can just clamp one wheel and that vehicle will not be able to go. anywhere. And also, in addition to that, you can get the alarm system. So, once the person gets close or touches the vehicle, the alarm system goes off. That will make a set of noise, and that will cause them to flee away. So those are some of the preventative measures I want to recommend to owners and drivers to ensure that they get the vehicle.
Somebody on YouTube is questioning if the vehicle thieves are locals, aka Grenadians, or if these are foreigners that are coming into Grenada or Grenadians who have lived abroad for a while. The question really is, are we looking at deportees from Canada, America, and England when those crimes are committed, or locals?
The thing about it, what I can say towards that, I cannot be specific in terms of who the perpetrators are, because we don't have much lead as to how we didn't really apprehend anyone as yet in relation to those reports. So there is no person to zero in on to say that a person is from that particular island or a person from Grenada. So it will not be accurate answer to that question.
Why haven't we been able to apprehend anyone yet? Grenada's so small. How is it that we don't?
Yeah,
it's Randal Baptiste that's stealing the vehicle.
You see, if it is not, there was no weakness of the offense on view. Nobody didn't witness the offense within their view, and we don't have much information to work with from the complainant. Then the investigation will have some form of challenges, and if not all the cases is similar nature like this. The information that we have is not so much that we can, but we are doing as much as we can to see if we can really make some inroads with those cases.
All right, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to be joined by the officer from the CID, Constable Keddy Victor. This is To The Point. We're speaking about an increase in vehicle theft in Grenada. We'll be right back.
Good morning.
It's new.
Yes, I'm having a lot of problems with my
The rest. Your one-stop shop for better.
is dropping and coming back on, so I'm hearing bits and pieces of.
Even a new paint job. We also sell quads and.
We believe this new virus spreads mostly from person to person through respiratory droplets produced when someone who is sick coughs or sneezes. This is similar to how flu and other respiratory illnesses spread. These droplets can land in the mouth or nose of people nearby, or possibly be inhaled into the lungs. Most person-to-person spread happens when people are in close contact. It's also possible that this virus can spread when someone touches a contaminated surface and then touches the mouth, nose, or eyes.
COVID-19 spreads from person to person through the droplets that are produced when someone coughs or sneezes, which makes it easy to spread between people in close contact. Now let's get prepared to stay healthy. To reduce your chance of catching or spreading COVID-19, practice these simple everyday preventative measures. Droplets can also land on surfaces, so ensure that you wash your hands frequently for a minimum of 20 seconds or sing the happy birthday song twice. Avoid touching your face, especially your eyes, nose, and mouth. If soap and water are not readily available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with an alcohol content between 60 and 90%. 70% is ideal. When you cough or sneeze, cover your nose and mouth with a flexed elbow or a tissue. Dispose of the tissue immediately and then wash your hands. If you notice someone has a fever and cough or other symptoms of respiratory illness, avoid close contact when possible. Let's all do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. Our health is our collective responsibility.
Welcome back to The Point. We're speaking with officers of the Royal Grenada Police Force. So far, we have Inspector Second in Charge at the Traffic Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force, Inspector Randal Baptiste, and we are joined by Officer at the CID, Constable Keddy Victor. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties with the Constable Victor, but as much as we can, we'll hear from him with the information that he can provide and share with us. There was a question I saw on the WhatsApp, I believe, in relation to the penalties for vehicle theft. One of the comments somebody posted is that it's a little too low. Any plans to advocate for an increase in the penalty and fine?
Yeah, based on the irregularity of an offense, fines and penalties will be a deterring factor to see a reduction in such offense. So yes, we definitely make the recommendations to the relevant authorities and see how it goes. But I am in agreement to that I believe that we need to see an increase there.
Is there a specific area that we've seen more theft than other parts of the island, or a specific parish?
Yes, St. George's have the majority of vehicle theft. St. George's area.
And the one with the least?
Grandans, Lansopin. There's a couple in Penmota.
Lord, that's where I reside, in the south of the island, Lord. There is another question on the WhatsApp. What is the RGPF, well, a little outside of the scope of the conversation, but what is the RGPF doing about the amount of people driving without license?
Well, I can say we are doing a lot. Our statistics as it relates to persons being arrested for driving without license is right up there. For the month of August, 71 persons was arrested for driving without license. So the RGPF is out there. We have the guys, motorcycle patrol, mobile patrol, traffic checks on a more regular basis now. And as a result, it is creating an impact with the results that we are getting. And what we have been seeing as a result of that is much more persons now are going to seek their driver's license. As I speak, we had to organize a major theory driving exam as recent as last Monday at the Gazebo Trade Center to facilitate the amount of persons, because the amount of persons that have been seeking appointments to do license now way past the average amount we used to have. And that's happening now as a result of the impact of the results the police are having out there in terms of apprehending persons for driving without license. So I can say from a police department, RGPF standpoint, we are doing a very effective job in that regard.
Have we increased mobile patrol or the patrols and roadblocks and so at different points, or is it that we're just lucky to be catching them so often?
No, we have increased mobile patrols, and outside of the increase of mobile patrols, technology is a critical contributing factor to that, and I will just explain. What we have now is where officers now we have an app that where officers can get access while out there on the mobile phone have that app on the phone, and they can just go straight into that app. They stop Miss Blossom, Alexis-Welsh, and they ask her for a license. She said she don't have it with her. They go to the system, they take your information, they enter it there, and they will see definitely whether or not you are the holder of a license. So no more where persons can trick the officers and say they left it home and you have to give them 48 hours as the law requires to produce. But no, right there and then, you can know whether someone has. So when persons realize that, they will just surrender because they know at the end of the day, the police will know whether it's legally issued or not. So the app with technology have played a critical role in that regard.
Speaking of the 48 hours to bring in the license, what specifically does the law say? Because I spoke with a senior member of the RGPF, that was a few years ago, and what he said was the 48 hours is at the discretion of the officer who asked for you to show the license. So is it that they have to give you 48 hours, or the officer can use his discretion and say you have 48 hours, or no, you don't look like it, even without the app, that is, no, you don't look like you have the license, I'm impounding the vehicle? No. What is it? I have to give you 48 hours?
Once the police don't have enough information or evidence to lead to a suspicion that that person don't have a license. So let's look at the scenario that the police officer believes you have a license. The law demands under Section 44 that the police have to give the person 48 hours, stipulated 48 hours, that's in law, to produce the license at the police station, at a specific police station, or one where the person lives. So that is, you have two options. So if you live in Grandance, you can give the person the opportunity to produce the license at the nearest police station in Grandance, which is the South St. John's Police Station. Or you can ask the person to produce at the traffic department, in my case, where I'm okay. But 48 hours is stipulated in law. It's only if there is suspicion.
Constable Victor, you with us? Okay, all right, let me unmute your mic. Right, there we go. Yes, Constable Victor. So just join the conversation. We were speaking before we digressed to license. Vehicle theft in Grenada. What statistics do you have at the CID as it relates to that crime?
As you say, I just joined, so I missed out a lot of it.
No problem.
Our statistics, however, would coincide with what would have been reported by the inspector, because we had a chat this morning, and what happens usually when we have reports of stolen vehicles, it's all reported to the persons more out doing patrols and so on, will be on the lookout for some things. So the statistic would remain the same. I think there would be 20 cases of using vehicles without the consent of the owner. Most cases we would say stolen vehicles, but things happen. Once the vehicle is taken, without the person, the offense we look at most of the time is using a motor vehicle with the consent of the owner. So, as you literally stealing, however, you have to take into consideration, because when these vehicles are stolen, most of the time it's just that somebody used it for a certain time or a particular thing, and then the person get back the vehicle. Very few cases we have where vehicles was not recovered. So that's why we don't call it stealing, because stealing, when you take something, you intend to deprive the person permanently from it, and that's not the case. So that's why we don't say stealing lawfully, but we say using the vehicle without the consent of the owner.
In how far are we in with the investigations into the reports of vehicle or using the vehicle with the owner's consent? How far are we in solving maybe at least one of those reports and making an arrest?
Yes, we had cases where we had made arrests. The amount I cannot give you from my statistics now, but we have cases where we make arrests. But what happens in most cases, the person will use the vehicle and then just pack it up somewhere. So then the owner goes back and get the vehicle. So that's what happens in most cases.
Okay. This is a point in the program where we would invite comments, questions, queries, concerns from members of the public as it relates to vehicle theft and maybe any advice that you may be seeking from the officers. 435-2041, that's the landline number. That's also the WhatsApp number. Please only written messages on WhatsApp. No voice or video calls, no voice notes, pictures, links, video, YouTube links or so, just written messages. You can also post your comments, queries, concerns on Facebook and YouTube. Let's take our first caller. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. My question relates to the licensing of vehicles. My license is due, but I cannot climb steps. How can I pay my license without having to do those steps?
Thank you, caller. Officers?
I didn't get the last part of the question.
She was asking how she can renew her license without having to go to the Ministry of Finance to climb the steps, really.
Oh.
I believe there's a portal that the Ministry of Finance launched a few weeks ago, actually.
Yeah, you can make online payments, but for the license, but to get the actual hard copy of the license, you'll definitely have to go in to the Inland Revenue. So it's a challenge for her with her situation. We'll have to see what's the best method that can be applied with reference to her situation. So it's something that have to be discussed.
Her behalf, if she pays online, can...
All right, if she pays online, and because from time to time, data will be lost. So from time to time, because of the capacity, there your signature might go, your picture might go. But if in her situation, all the information that is needed is there in the system, someone can collect on her behalf.
Let me go back to the phone lines. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning. Yes, I called to ask a question. As the officer was now saying, if someone has stolen a vehicle and you get a ride in it, you could also charge. But what I'm saying, if I stand up by the road and I'm waiting for a ride and my friend come and give me a ride and I don't know it's still the vehicle, what will happen to me?
All right.
Thank you, caller.
Let me give some clarity. Maybe the caller would have missed that part when I mentioned. The law says here, having knowledge that the vehicle was stolen. So if once we could prove that you have knowledge that the vehicle was stolen, then you commit the offense. But if we cannot prove that you have knowledge, if you didn't have knowledge, then the offense is not committed by you. So having knowledge is what is critical here. That the person that usually rides steal that vehicle, once you have knowledge.
There's a WhatsApp question. Have any fingerprints been lifted from the vehicles that have been reported stolen, or is it that once a vehicle is returned, the investigation has ended?
No, the investigation is ongoing. CRD, Criminal Record Office officers are the one that will come and do swap prints and take photographs and so forth. I don't know if Constable Victor want to add anything to that from an investigation standpoint.
Arguments. I would be in agreement with the inspector. No, that's not the end of the investigation. We'll conduct further investigation, especially when the vehicle is recovered. Then you have a new part of the investigation starting, because now you have what was stolen. Yes, you would go ahead. We go ahead with those for fingerprints. What we'll also try to do is backtrack where the vehicle was stolen from and where it was found. Usually there would be persons who may have seen a vehicle. So we canvass areas to see what information we can get. So when the vehicle is found, it will be returned to the owner after most of these things is done. We don't just take it and just give it back to the owner. We conduct further investigation, and even after fingerprint and so on, we never close the case. We leave the case open because we don't know what would happen as we go further. And usually investigation happens in different ways. And one time it may happen fast and another time it may happen slow. So sometimes, yes, we keep it open. So it is not closed as the vehicle is found and handed back to use.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Good morning, caller. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. I'm trying to analyze something. Good morning.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, before I analyze it, I would like to congratulate the police officer who is now giving information. As far as I'm concerned, among many, he's doing well, giving the accurate information. In other words, he knows he's tough. When I say tough, I don't mean the whole thing, He knows the law, and he could interpret, or not even interpret, understand the law. But let me just ask him that, a few minutes back, someone says that if I cannot climb this step, I don't know if it's an assumption or possible the person is stating a fact. Do we have vehicles that have been, it seems to me then that the person, the lady, should have been somewhat incapacitated in some way or the other. Do we now have vehicles in Grenada, or is that a question, or a superficial question she wanted to ask? How would she pay the license? In other words, I'm trying to say maybe she might be driving with some sort of a deformity. So this is what you have to look into, and I hope you look into that. According to the question, people seem to be driving, and they are not 100% perfect. Anyhow, congratulations to you. It's first policeman I see that gives such accurate information. And let me ask you this. Do you think that some policemen should go on the air without the consent of the supervisor and saying things which they, in other words, interpreting the law, or saying things which are not true?
Okay. Thank you, caller. Inspector?
Thank you very much, caller, for the commendation. The last part with reference, how I should answer that question is that I can't speak to or have any information of officers going and speak through media programs like these without permission or without consent. I know we have a strict media policy that is adhered to by the RGPF, so I cannot speak towards that. I have no information as it relates to that. Not denying what the scholar said, but from my end, I don't have no such information.
All right, and there's a question and in relation to the lady. She wasn't speaking about driving. She was speaking about going to the financial complex, the Inland Revenue Division, and climbing the steps to the second floor to renew her license. That's what she was referring to. Everybody has bad knees these days. A question on the Facebook is asking, what if I have my tools in my vehicle? What's the process to carry dark tint? And that question came in shortly after you spoke about ensuring you don't leave valuables in your vehicles that can be stolen. I guess the person is leading to the tint can help conceal what's in my vehicle. So how dark of the shade? The grade of the tint. The grade
of the tint that is allowed is 35%. That is what is allowed presently. It's somewhat the question that has been asked by the person. The procedure to that, you have to apply to the Commissioner of Police in writing, requesting to use a tint of a lower grade and to give your justifications, and then the application will be addressed. It's not mandatory that it will be approved, but it will be looked into and examine the circumstances surrounding it, and a final determination will be made.
WhatsApp question. Is there ask that question. Are vehicles being stolen as a result of financial disputes between two or more parties? I guess to settle a debt.
Oh. Mr. Victor, you want to answer that?
Yes, I could. In most cases, no. Most time vehicles are stolen. The owner of the vehicle, sometimes they don't even know each other. But the cases which we did have, we did solve and did that.
All right, and then there's another question. Well, maybe a suggestion on WhatsApp. Would you advise people to have a recent photo of their vehicle just in case it gets stolen?
Yes, I will definitely recommend that. So a fair comparison could be made when that vehicle is recovered, with reference to whether whatever would have, if damage was done to it after it was stolen to the time it was recovered. So yes, I will recommend that. I don't know if Mr. Victor wants to add anything to it.
I lost some connection, so I didn't hear the question. I was answering a question when I lost some connection.
Yeah, the question was in relation if you would advise someone to take a photo of their vehicle in the event that it gets stolen.
Well, I mean, too much information is never too much. So it's good to have a photo of your vehicle, because sometimes that will be the best thing, because what we find is all vehicles are one of the same, you could say, because they are manufactured in the same way. And somebody might see a blue vehicle, and this might be a blue vehicle, but you having a photo of your vehicle could say, okay, this is my vehicle. And it also goes further, and you'll be able to tell the state of your vehicle before it was stolen. For example, if it was stolen and then some damages were done to it, or some other parts were taken from it or something, then you could go back to the photo and say, look, okay, officer, look, this is my photo I took of my vehicle and so date, and this was the case, but this is not the case now. So it also goes to help you as a person for future references.
Let's go back to the phones. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you today?
Morning, I'm good. Go ahead.
Yeah, morning. All right. I guess I mean going back to the license. I guess if you have a 3-year license, you could pay online, right? If you have a 3-year license, because you could get a 3-year license. Yeah. And the second question is like, they could do as in the United States. If you have expensive thing in your vehicle, either you cover it down inside the vehicle or you leave it in the dicky of the vehicle.
Okay, thank you. Inspector or Constable Victor?
Yes, the last part I will, almost all the private vehicles have a trunk, what we call a trunk or dicky. So it is very highly recommended for persons to put their valuables, their tools, as the gentleman that spoke earlier on. The tools can be placed in the trunk of your vehicle. So I'm in agreement with that caller in that regard. I mean, in relation to where he speaks about the 3 years, is he saying that he cannot pay online for 3 years?
He was saying that could be an avenue. If you have a 3-year license, you can pay online. But if you have a 3-year license, you already paid for the 3 years. So it was a little bit confusing, to be honest.
Oh, because I was just saying you have options with reference to paying your license for 1 year or 3 years. So I guess he may be going back to the lady. Maybe he feels that because of her situation, she can pay for 3 years. But sometimes you don't know if she is in an economic position to pay for 3 years. So,
maybe that's
I guess he suggests. I guess along that line, making that suggestion.
Right. Once a year, you make the trip up. Once 3 years, you make a trip up a step. There's a WhatsApp question. We know that people put car alarms on cars in case the vehicles get stolen, but there are some alarms hooked up with car horns, and they're very loud, especially at night when people are already in bed trying to get a little sleep before work, and that alarm can be disturbing. The question is, what law is in place for vehicles with loud alarms disturbing citizens' peace of rest or peace of mind?
Well, that will be really under the I think that will fall under the Noise Pollution Act, with reference to noise that will cause nuisance or disturbance to the peace and so forth. So I understand the part with reference to, yes, it is a preventative measure, but it's something that we'll have to assess and weigh on both sides. But I'm in agreement with the caller, yes, because based on where we live within surroundings of others, and based on the loudness of that device, it will definitely cause disturbance and disturb the peace. So it's something that we'll have to examine with reference to, especially those type of devices prior to persons putting them on, is to check the loudness and so forth.
There's a WhatsApp question. What if someone has their license but haven't driven for a while and didn't pay for a few years? Is there a penalty charge?
This is a question that will have to be answered by the IRD department who deals with cash collection. But from a police standpoint, I can't speak to that in terms of road traffic, and that will definitely be a financial
Okay, Inspector Baptiste, I'm not seeing you. Constable Victor, can you hear me?
matter.
Okay. I'm hearing you again. What was the last thing you said? Go ahead.
I was saying it will be a financial matter. It's because you have to do with the collection of cash, government revenue. So I would not be able to speak towards that from a traffic department standpoint. So the IRD will be the most fitting department to answer such questions.
Okay. There's somebody following up. One of the most recent vehicle theft on Dr. Grooms on Sunday. The person is asking if there's an update on the investigation, as there is video evidence of the incident.
Okay, Mr. Victor, you can speak to that because I don't have information as I speak presently regarding that report.
Okay. Constable Victor, any updates on the theft at Dr. Grooms on Sunday?
No, we don't have any updates on it as yet. So we don't have any information that we can give out as yet.
Okay, let me go back to the phone lines. Wait, let me make a rounds on the social media. Right, let me go back to the phone lines. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Blossom. Good morning, and good morning to the police officers. I know Inspector Baptiste spoke just now concerning the noise pollution. My concern is the size of the boom boxes or speakers that are placed in vehicles that would be blasting at all hours of the day and night, sometime in the middle of a sleep, and you get these loud sounds, louder than a lot of DJs. And not only that, but the whole muffler system is changed to make every car sound as a race car. And reports are made on those situations, but nothing happens. You have vehicles with those big boom boxes, cars, buses, even trucks now. And it is becoming a real problem to elderly folks who want to take a rest. 2, 3, 1, anytime, it doesn't matter. And in the middle of a sleep, what my concern is, are these vehicles examined when they go for vehicle examination? Are these boom boxes encouraged to be removed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, caller. As it relates to the point of saying nothing has been done, I am not in agreement with that. As recent as Friday gone, we will have brought in 2 different drivers for loud music in private vehicles. And notwithstanding the fact that, yes, it's a growing concern, that area, it's a growing concern. Yesterday in our meeting and at the commissioner's level, that was mentioned for police officers to deal with that in the most serious way possible, because we're getting a lot of reports with reference to persons driving, playing loud music. So I know definitely moving forward, as we speak, officers will be dealing with those reports. The total powers as the law gives us to deal with those reports as it relates to that.
Somebody's asking if a vehicle was stolen and they didn't have knowledge then, they got a ride in the vehicle, they didn't have knowledge then, but they later found out it was stolen, would that person still be charged? Well, I got the ride, I didn't know John stole the vehicle.
No, they cannot be. They cannot be charged. At the time of taking the ride, is at that stage you have to prove whether they had knowledge it was stolen or not.
Okay.
Not after the fact.
And before
if they have knowledge after the fact, it's important for them to report it.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. If I report it after, we will still be charged. Before we go back to the wrap-up, somebody's asking if you are 65 years old and considering going for your license, would you be exempt from the sticks and also the written exam?
Well, there is a process with reference to granting exams, and there's criteria that have to be met, which I will not be able to go into detail now. But we normally see persons at our department once a month making different forms of request, re-exemption for sticks, re-exemption for theory. So when that person comes in, they come before our interview team, which comprises of the administrative team at the traffic department. So when we hear the person concerns and the justification and reasoning for the request, then we'll make a determination. But off the bat, it's not mandatory or automatic because of your age. We'll grant an exemption for sticks or theory. It depends on the circumstances.
And someone is asking in relation to stop and search, and you ask the driver for the license. There have been reports that people would give quote-unquote wrong name when asked to identify themselves. Somebody is asking what happens then and how often does this happen according to the data you have?
Presently, based on our stats, we do get a couple persons giving false name, but some of the officers, majority of our officers are very tactful when it comes to requesting name and address and asking certain questions to zero in to see if they can really prove that a person is giving a false name or arouse any suspicion to bring in that person. So the majority of the times we deal with these matters, but very rare we have cases with false name. But it's also an offense once we prove that the person gives a false name and address, and it's an arrestable offense. So the police can take necessary action if that happens.
All right, let's wrap up the program, gentlemen. Any final thoughts? Inspector Baptiste, Constable Victor?
Yes, I just want to take the opportunity to thank you and the staff at GBN for giving RGPF/Traffic Department another opportunity to engage and to share our knowledge with the public. And I also always say the essence of knowledge. There is a quote that says the essence of knowledge is in its application. So what is important here of the expectation of us is that how important it is that persons that gain the knowledge, the important thing is how best they apply it. And I know if persons apply what they will have gained this morning, especially with the preventative measures in relation to vehicle theft, we'll definitely see a reduction as it relates to that particular offense. And I also want to thank the public, all those who have called and shared their concerns, asked their questions, and give commendations. We want to thank you, and we want to continue. And we continue to look forward to your support because we know we cannot do it by ourselves. The community plays a very pivotal role in law enforcement. So I want to thank the general public again and want to wish everyone a blessed day.
Constable Victor? Are you still there, Constable Victor?
Yes. I would also like to stand with the inspector in thanking you.
Yeah, we were hearing you, but you're breaking up slightly.
Yes, I was just saying that I would like to stand with the inspector and say thank you to GDN and the listening nation, the callers who called in, the persons who sent in their WhatsApp. We thank you. You will help us as police officers to do a better job as we proceed, because at the end of the day, our service is to the nation, and those people who call in, they will give us how them feel and how they think. So we are grateful for that. I joined the program, but I'm not too sure what was discussed in the beginning. But I also wanted to point out some things in relation to vehicles. While yes, I'm not sure what just happened. Are you hearing me?
I'm just hearing you. We lost you. You can still hear us?
Oh, wow. But I was also saying that yes.
We're still losing you every now and then.
Yeah, the
internet doesn't always work with us. Don't worry. We'll see if we can rearrange and of course
I just want to tell people.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I was saying I would also like to inform persons. Although our topic was more based on vehicle theft, apart from the vehicle being stolen, I know a lot of things are being stolen from vehicles. So I also wanted the people to be mindful as to the way they deal with the vehicles, security and so on. One of the things I noticed that a lot of people just leave their keys in the ignition if they think they're going away for a short time, and by the time they come back, probably the vehicle is stolen or something from the vehicle is stolen. So probably they will be mindful of that. Even if it's a short time you're stepping away for the vehicle from, then you probably could turn off the ignition and walk with the key. That would at least make a deterrent to somebody who's probably thinking about stealing from the vehicle. Another thing we saw a lot of stealing from vehicle batteries. Is becoming a crime very prevalent now and is being reported probably every week we see reports of stolen battery. I'm guessing that inspector will have already.
Okay, noted on the batteries as well. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for speaking with us. Appreciate both your time. Thank you very much. Have yourselves a productive and thankful Thursday.
Same to you. All the best.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care. Okay.
Inspector second in charge at the Traffic Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force, Inspector Randal Baptiste, as well as Officer at the Criminal Investigations Department, Constable Keddy Victor. We thank them both for being our guests this morning, and thank you, our viewers and listeners, for tuning in. Like both officers said, continue to protect yourselves and your property. Sometimes we take for granted that Grenada is a safe place, but there are one or two like-minded criminals about the place, and you can never trust anything too much. So secure yourself, secure your property. It's an expensive thing, maintaining a vehicle, and it's not nice when somebody goes with your investment. A battery alone that Constable Victor spoke about could run anywhere between $450 to $600. The struggle is real. So protect yourselves. Protect your vehicles and protect yourselves from COVID-19. Have yourselves a productive, thankful Thursday. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning, God willing. Bye-bye.